One of the largest companies in the automation space has just released a new tool that absolutely crushes GPTs, and you probably haven't heard of it. Just a few months ago, OpenAI released their own GPT creator. GPTs are just custom versions of ChatGPT that we can modify with our own files as the knowledge prompts in how it responds to the user, as well as creating our own custom actions. This enabled people to build these sort of custom GPTs that were trained on very specific and sort of hyper-targeted tasks. For example, I could go ahead and find some YouTube script writers or YouTube title generators, and there are just a bunch of GPTs that help out with very specific tasks that have been trained and prompted. Now, alongside these GPTs, OpenAI also released the GPT store. So this is sort of just like the App Store, where there is just a list of GPTs that you can go through and find the GPTs that you're looking for. You can search up a specific GPT, find it, and then just start using it. OpenAI also stated that you could actually go ahead and earn money from creating GPTs through their own revenue program. Now, these GPTs are really great and really powerful for businesses and for us to use internally. But one of the big issues is that creating these GPTs can actually be quite difficult, especially when we're creating these custom actions. So more specifically, these GPTs use custom actions to get access to sort of external data. So for example, if I wanted to build a chatbot that gave me the latest price of Bitcoin, if I went ahead and just typed that into ChatGPT, it would get me the wrong data because it's only looking at its trained data, which is quite a few months outdated. So it would give me the wrong price. But if I created a custom action that detected that I was looking for the newest Bitcoin price, we can actually configure a system to make a request to an endpoint that has access to the live price. Then we can get that data sent back into the chatbot to then tell us the actual accurate price and summarize that with some other information. Now, one of the biggest issues with this is that creating these actions is quite difficult. Something that I've covered on the channel is using a tool like Relevance AI, which is a automations platform that we can work through step by step, and it's a no-code tool that we can use to actually run these actions. And then what we would do is we can actually use an OpenAI GPT schema generator to take this and put this into a GPT. And then finally, we could actually use that to run an action to get back some custom data. And then if you wanted to set up your own custom action, you would have to actually write the schema yourself or use some sort of a schema generator. And so the process is not very streamlined. So whilst these GPTs are really powerful once they're set up, the sort of technological stack that we're using here with endpoints and requests to multiple different locations can get a bit messy and confusing. But now Zapier, which is one of the biggest automations platform that lets us connect thousands of applications to other thousands of applications and let them talk with each other, has released their own sort of ChatGPT-like builder called Zapier Central. Zapier Central essentially lets us build our own sort of chatbots and connect to all of Zapier's existing connections, and we can do this all natively in one application. So now we can have this really seamless integration with all these applications without making requests off to all these other endpoints and having to deal with any code or any OpenAI schemas. We can simply build this all in one system. So in this video, I'm going to do a full walkthrough of the Zapier Central platform. I'm then going to do a live build of a chatbot that we can actually talk to a spreadsheet live and get some sort of analysis of the data in that spreadsheet through the chatbot. Then I'm going to build a chatbot that connects with live documents and integrate automations into this. For example, I'm going to build an automation that actually sends an email within the chat. So if I like something that the bot has said, I can say, send this to the team, and it will go ahead and actually structure it and automatically send it off in an email. Another action that I'm going to implement is actually sending some of the data off to a spreadsheet. So if I tell it to create a list of AI business ideas, I can go ahead and have that actually sent off into a spreadsheet, and then we can further analyze it there. The best part about this is that it requires absolutely no code whatsoever, and it's very easy to follow along with. Learning how to use Zapier Central and the Zapier platform is going to be an incredibly valuable skill for you to learn to help sell these systems to other businesses or use within your own business. Zapier has quite a good and strong reputation within the automations business, so it's definitely something you should be investing your time into. So this right here is Zapier Central. Work hand in hand with AI bots. Zapier Central is an experimental AI workspace where you can teach bots to work across 6,000 plus apps. So if I just look at the demo that they've got going on here, it says, could you please sort my customers by order value? So they've gone ahead and just asked for some information on data that they might have stored somewhere. And then their bot configuration was able to go ahead and look up in that file, understand what they were looking for, understand that it was the order value and that they wanted to sort it by that. And then they were able to get a list of that accurately given to them. And they were able to do this all through just a single sentence. And then from this, they were able to just go ahead and say, oops, Julie's order is overdue. Let's send an apology. And then the bot's able to understand what's going on there. And it's gone ahead and said, here's a draft, any changes before I send it. So it's even going to not only draft it up and provide an email for her to send off, it's actually going to go ahead and send it as well. So right there, you get a really good idea of the power of this system, where it's simply integrated into, a spreadsheets as well as emails, and that we can connect all these systems together. And then in just 2 sentences, we can have all these actions run. So one of the features of Zapier Central is that we can actually connect live data. So being able to connect live data to these bots is actually a really powerful system. When we used our sort of GPTs originally, we would simply just upload some files. And so uploading these files was, it was useful, but it wasn't live. So if we uploaded a Google Doc with some sort of company policies in it, and then those policies eventually changed, those policies would have to get deleted and then re-uploaded because there was no system in place to actually automate that. With Zapier Central, we can actually just connect live data. So because of Zapier's obviously automation platform that they've got going on already, we can simply just go ahead and log into Google and then select our Google Doc, and then without having to do anything else, it's automatically connected and using that for live data. And then we've got our prompting, which is what they call instructions, where we're pretty much just telling the bot how to respond, how to act, as well as when to trigger certain automations. So just a bit more on what these bots can actually do. It says here, bots can write, send, update, analyze, check, and more. So this is all really just analyzing the data that the bot is generating and reading, and then really just figuring out the smart ways in which we can manipulate this data to be most useful for a particular business. So like they've got here, query your data. So obviously, like I said, we can upload a spreadsheet and we can talk back and forth with it. So we can really put all these systems together that sort of communicate with each other, where we've got this really powerful AI assistant that is constantly looking at everything that's going on in our sort of digital operations. And we're able to talk back and forth with it to get a whole heap of insights about what's going on. So lead enrichment is a really good example here. If a new lead comes through, we can have this passed through the bot. So they were able to just say which new leads came in yesterday. The bot said Dara is interested in machine learning, and then Joe's got ahead and said, awesome, let's reach out to Dara. So obviously a great example of how this can be used as an assistant, that when we connect this to all of the operations within a business, whether that's leads or it's support tickets or it's really anything, have it analyze everything that's going on a day-to-day operation, and just find if there's anything of interest, anything that we should be looking into, and just having this incredibly powerful AI assistant running in the background. So now I'm going to get started in building a couple of bots. Just go to zapier.com/central and then hit try central today. So this is Zapier Central. So it looks very similar to the actual ChatGPT GPTs builder. It looks pretty similar. It's just a normal chat interface. Well, obviously we've got the chat down here, and then this is the responses that we're going to get back from the AI. And then we've got an activity tab up here, and this really just tracks all of the conversations and triggers that have happened. So nothing really going on there. 3 dots, we can rename the bot, refresh the chat, or delete it. And some of these things here are just for replying, copying, saying whether or not it was helpful, or telling you that it wasn't very helpful at all. But if you come down to the bottom right here and click on this plus, you're going to get the 2 main features of Zapier Central at the moment. One being create behavior. So creating the behavior is our sort of custom actions. So this is probably the most powerful part of these bots. So here, what's happening is we are telling it what we want to do when a certain message comes through, or just a trigger that happens during the conversation. So we can type in some instructions and then we connect this to some triggers and actions. So they've got an example there that says, when I get a new Salesforce lead, summarize it and then send it to the sales channel in Slack. So that's obviously something that's happened. They've got a new Salesforce lead, so that's the trigger. And then they're saying summarize it and then send it to the sales channel in Slack, which is the action. And then the other main tool they've got is adding our data source. So we're able to get live data coming in. At the moment, they've only got Google Sheets, Google Docs, and Notion, but it seems here you can actually let them know what you'd like, and they're going to continue to add to this, I'm sure, in terms of getting live data sent into that knowledge base. So if we go ahead and click on the Google Sheets button, what I'm going to do is go ahead and connect this to my email list. So I've got an email list for my free resource hub where I've got around 13 automation templates on there. So if you want to get access to that, you can sign up in the description. But essentially, I'm just capturing all those emails and I've got that in an email list. So what we can do is connect this to a Zapier Central system here. I can go ahead and click on my email list. And what I'm going to do is just ask it information about the leads that I've got on my list. So now that I've connected my spreadsheet, it is connected at the bottom here. Email list, spreadsheet, data source is connected to my bot now. If I go over to my email list, what I've got is just a sort of pie chart of all of the industries on my email list. So if I click on this ecom one here, so I can see that I've got 466 people that have said that they're in the e-commerce industry. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is go back to Zapier and ask it how many people are in the e-commerce industry. And so Obviously this is accurate because it's connected directly to my data. So 466 is the number we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and ask it, how many people on my email list are in the e-commerce industry? So as we can see here, it is now calling a function use code to answer question. So what's happening is it's actually going to use or take my question and turn this into some form of a spreadsheet formula. And that spreadsheet formula is going to be used to actually pull back the data. So we'll just let it think here and we'll see if it gets it right. And there we go. So we can see that happened very quickly. It's gone ahead and actually generated a formula, and it has been able to use that formula to find that there are 466 people on your email list who are in the e-commerce industry. That is an exact answer. That was 100% correct. It was able to generate this bit of code here that said, it's just a Google Sheets formula that's looking for, the e-commerce people in the niche industry. It was able to put together a formula that was able to understand the different columns. I didn't tell it how e-commerce is actually put into the actual data. That could have been put in many different ways, but it was able to put together a formula to actually find that data. So obviously that was a bit more of a basic example where it's just tallying up a count in the spreadsheet. We can really apply this to a whole host of use cases within a business. So obviously most businesses will be storing that data that they've got going through their business somewhere. So if that's their sales, if that's about refund rates, all this data is stuff that they want to be able to chat with and get responses back and get an analysis done right away. And if we just plug in those files of their refund rates and then asked, is our refund rate up this month or down this month, we can get back an immediate answer on the 100% true fact of that data using this system. So building this in something like OpenAI's GPTs would have been a bit of a challenge. Obviously having to then connect Google Sheets via the schema. This has really just streamlined the process 100 times. So now I'll go into actually chatting with some live files. So if we just go back to the plus, go to add data source, I'm gonna add a Google Doc. So I'm just gonna quickly create a sort of fake Google Doc with some information. So if I just wanted to say, Brendan is an AI YouTuber who creates great content. So if I just put that in there, pretty much if we ask that question to any normal ChatGPT, it's obviously not gonna tell us this. So if I just add that as a sort of custom document in our Zapier Central setup, then we should be able to tell that it's able to read our document live. So going back to Zapier Central, hit the Google Docs, gonna add my account. So now at the bottom, we've got two data sources. So obviously our spreadsheet, as well as our document. I can go ahead and just ask it, who is Brendan? And so as we can see here, Brendan is an AI YouTuber known for creating great content. He's associated with the data source connected to this bot. So right there, you can see we're able to leverage documents for just live data in the back end. Obviously, we can do a lot more information than that. We can upload company policies and standard operating procedures for companies to really just come through and ask questions about their documents and get immediate information back. So now I'm going to show you one of the most powerful parts of Zapier Central that I think is going to be really, really helpful for businesses to really utilize and to really understand how we can actually connect a whole bunch of connections into our one bot for it to complete a variety of tasks for us. So in this particular demo, I've connected two behaviors. So one is a team email notification. So I've set up to trigger when I say, send this information to the team in an email, it will go ahead and take the information that I generated and send that to the team in an email. So this is really helpful for if you're conversing with the bot and talking to your data and whatnot, and you find something very interesting or it picks up on something that you didn't think of, you can go ahead and go, that's very interesting. Can you go ahead and send that off to the team? And so by building this automation, we're able to have that email, sent off directly through our chat. And then alongside this, I've got a data to spreadsheet. So I've also set up a trigger where if I like some sort of bit of information that is generated or it's generated a list of information that I like, I can just say, I really like that information. Can you go ahead and send it off to the spreadsheet? And then what that'll do is it'll look just like this. What I've got here is a whole host of these are AI business ideas that I told it to send off to a spreadsheet, and I was able to get it to add into a new row for each one. So as we're talking with this system, it's now a lot more alive. We can tell it to go off and send an email, store that data somewhere, and we're really leveraging the power of these Zapier automations. So to create a behavior, the plus button down here and hit create a behavior. Once you've done that, I'll just go over to the one I've got going already. It's going to pop up just like this. And so what I've gone ahead and done is given it a bit of a prompt here, as well as a trigger and an action. So my instructions says trigger when I say, can you email this to the team? Then it says, take the previous answer in the chat, summarize this information and run the send email action. The email must state that the information was generated by Zapier Central and I just thought that it would be interesting to share, and then the email with regards Brendan, and then format the email using HTML in typical email format. So I've done all of that to ensure that we're able to send off an email that seems, having been normal, given that it's being sent by Zapier Central. I obviously want the people receiving the email to know that Zapier Central generated the information, and I just thought it was interesting, and so that the team really understands where this is coming from. Then I've got a trigger. So the trigger is just how the bot will know when to actually do this. So it just says here, you can add a trigger. So just hit edit trigger. And then what I've set up is when I message the bot, but you can do a whole host of other stuff as well. So you can have this sort of actions trigger with a Google Sheet row. So if a new row comes through, a new lead comes through, we can have something else happen. There's obviously a lot of possibilities here, but I've just set up to say, when I message the bot and I said, send this to the team in an email or something similar to that, go ahead and send this trigger. So once a user has gone ahead and said, send this to the team in an email, we're then going to move on to running an action. And that action is simply just sending an email. So I just went ahead and clicked add action, clicked on the Gmail one, and then configured it with a sort of Gmail setup. So all I did was I just set some specific fields for the emails. So in this case, you would put in your team members as the ones that are always going to get the emails. And I just let AI generate the subject, the body type, the body signature. I let it do all the rest by using AI. So let's test if this actually works. I'm going to click out of this. So I'm just going to message it and say, can you find some AI business ideas and send this to the team in an email? So hopefully it's able to come up with some AI business ideas and then send that off to the team in a nicely formatted and understandable email. So now that has gone ahead and successfully worked. My camera stopped recording while I was doing that, so I have jumped ahead a little bit. But as you can see here, we did get an email that said, innovative AI business ideas, dear team. I came across some fascinating AI business ideas, and it's gone ahead and obviously put them in there. And then went ahead and said this information was generated by Zapier Central, and it's formatted it obviously using HTML as it's nice and spaced out with regards Brendan at the end there. So obviously a great tool that we can use to just send off some information to obviously our team in an email, or anything else where we just want to send that information out. And then moving on to our action that sends data off into a spreadsheet. Once again, I'd already done it. So what are some AI business ideas, and can you store this in a spreadsheet? And that went ahead and was able to trigger the data to spreadsheet. Action that I'd set up earlier, obviously it triggers depending on the phrase. It understood that that's what it wanted to trigger. And I'll go back to that spreadsheet that I'd already showed you. You can see here, these are the ones that it just generated from that request. So obviously pretty cool that we can just talk to it like we're talking to a normal person, generate some data, give us some info, and tell it to either send it in an email or go ahead and store that in a spreadsheet. So obviously I've done some pretty basic examples with obviously Gmail and Google Sheets, but we can connect this to the 6,000 of other Zapier enabled applications to this system, to where we can really connect one behavior that connects to another behavior that triggers a whole multitude of actions, and is a really powerful system where we can really empower a business with this AI teammate that will sit there and run these actions in the background and communicate with them with really powerful data. So obviously this is a great skill to learn if you're a business owner and you want to get something like this set up, or if you want to actually go ahead and sell this to businesses. There's a lot of businesses that don't really know how this can help them, and you can come in and say that there's this Zapier Central platform. You've probably heard of Zapier, and you can go ahead and build out these behaviors for them. There might be a whole multitude of ideas. There could be 20 actions that we could implement into a Zapier Central bot. And so if there's 20 actions, most business owners aren't going to know how that data can be manipulated and analyzed in this sense. And you can really come in as the expert and say, I will build you a Zapier Central fully actioned up, 20 plus actions connected to all your custom systems, and I'll teach your team how to use it. And that's gonna be a really valuable value proposition to pitch and to really provide a lot of value to that business. So I hope that was a helpful video in understanding how Zapier Central works and some of the benefits of it. If If you can go ahead and like and subscribe to the video, it'd be greatly appreciated. My goal for the channel is to release as much free and highly valuable content as possible, so I'd really appreciate it. If you want to get access to 13 plus chatbot and automation templates that I've covered throughout the channel, you can go ahead and sign up to my free Resource Hub link in the description. And if you're a business owner and you want to go ahead and get a custom Zapier Central, system built out or something completely different, you go ahead and book a call with me using my link in the description.